Recently, CEO of Electronic Arts Andrew Wilson stated that EA wants to implement, quote, thoughtful advertisements into games to, quote, harness the power of gaming communities so that they can use them as, quote, meaningful drivers of growth in the future, which is a speech that sounds like it was ripped directly out of a Deus Ex cutscene. Unfortunately, they're far from the only company to have comboed their video games with advertising deals. Some work, and others, well, there's enough bad examples that we already made a list and now we're doing another. Because I'm Sai for WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 more embarrassing product placements in video games. Number 10. Diesel, Devil May Cry 2. Devil May Cry 2 is nobody's favourite game, and let's not pretend otherwise. Heck, it's more likely that the DMC Devil May Cry 2013 reboot has more fans than DMC 2 at this point, which feels like a bizarre thing to say considering the reboot's initial announcement had fans frothing at the mouth with rage over its protagonist's haircut. A small part of the fanbase's apathy towards Devil May Cry 2 might have something to do with the reward, if you can call it that, for beating the game. After making your way through DMC2 as Dante on normal mode and saving your data, you'll immediately be hit with a full-screen advertisement for the Diesel clothing brand. There's no buffer here, you can beat the last level, credits roll, and then bam, buy some Diesel clothes, you fashion-oblivious nerd. Both protagonists Dante and Lucia have Diesel-branded outfits that you can unlock by beating the game with them, which is the justification for why these adverts are in the game in the first place, other than, money. A clothing advert probably wasn't the cherry on top that the DMC mega fans were looking for at the conclusion of a disappointing sequel, though. Number 9. Domino's Pizza, Code Vein. This one might be a bit too mean to include because it never actually saw the light of day, but it's so awful that it deserves a spot on this list. Hidden within the files of Code Vein are some unused voice lines that feature the English voice cast absolutely gushing over Domino's Pizza. Look, there's no sugarcoating this one. Prepare for cringe. Editor, play a short clip, please, but know that you've all been warned.
That aroma. I've never smelled anything so tasty.
You can see the soul of an uncompromising artisan in this pizza.
The fact that someone forced some poor voice actor to say, you can see the soul of an uncompromising artisan in this pizza when referring to Domino's should be a criminal offence. That's like calling a Tesco's carbonara ready meal the height of Italian cuisine. There isn't much information as to why the promotion wasn't featured in the full release, but some have theorised that it fell through when the game was delayed from 2018 to 2019. All that remains of the promotion's existence are the unused voice lines and a Domino's logo in the game's files. Good grief. Number 8. Jake from State Farm, NBA 2K22. The NBA games are chock full of in-game advertisements. I could probably spend this entire video talking about it and still keep going and going and going and going, and to a certain extent it makes sense. Sports have advertisements in them in the real world, so it's fine. That being said, one of these is slightly more embarrassing than the rest, and honestly, just talking about it feels gross. In NBA 2K22's online mode, The City, players are given a quest to speak to Jake from State Farm. If you're unsure who Jake from State Farm is, well, good for you. Unfortunately for everybody, though, further context will now be provided. State Farm is an insurance company in America, and Jake is a character from their adverts. And apparently, they're quite popular in America because it's, totally normal to be a fan of an insurance company over there. The quest that you'll give it to speak to Jake sees you rock up to an honest-to-goodness State Farm shop selling insurance company apparel, no less, wherein Jake will throw State Farm catchphrases at you. Imagine paying $60 for a game stuffed with microtransactions just to have an insurance company advertised to you. Might need some mouthwash after this one. Or maybe some Airwaves gum. Number 7. Gum, PCs, and body spray. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. It could be argued that the Splinter Cell series is really just an endless procession of commercials disguised as video games. Although Splinter Cell Double Agent's obsession with everything Nokia-related is probably the most well-known example, the previous entry in the franchise is the best example of a title that blurs the line between a video game and a playable advert. In Chaos Theory, there genuinely might not be a single level without some form of product placement. There are advertisements for Dell PCs, several instances of Sam Fisher alluding to how much he loves Airwaves gum, and even a cheeky little reference from Tugar to discuss how Prince of Persia is one of the greatest games ever made. The absolute worst of these has to be the Axe body spray you can find in the New York penthouse of a crime lord. Sorry, you're saying this guy can afford to rent, or much worse, buy a penthouse in one of the most expensive cities in the world, but he uses Axe body spray. Well, my immersion is just ruined because everybody knows knows that rich people use the tears of poor people in aerosol form to clean their pits. Number 6. Cup Noodle, Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 has so many examples of in-game ads that it's impossible to know where to start. Your party uses Coleman-branded camping gear, Noctis drives a real Audi, and there's a side quest based around Vivian Westwood. There's even an advertisement for American Express somewhere in the game, which kind of implies that America is a real place within Final Fantasy 15's world. That probably has some incredible implications for the in-game lore that Square Enix willfully ignored when American Express's check cleared. Yet somehow, the worst, most egregious of all of these has to be the Cup Noodle side quest. You can genuinely hear the voice actors in the English dub struggling to keep a straight face throughout the dialogue in this quest, as they take on the challenge trying to convince Noctis to search for the perfect ingredient to put in his instant ramen. The quest itself wasn't the last we'd see of Cup Noodles, however, as Square Enix added a DLC that allowed Noctis to equip a giant cup noodle hat. On the plus side, the wearable advert's inclusion really added to the levity of some of the more heartfelt scenes in the game. Number 5. Ikea, The Sims 2. The Sims games are no strangers to a bit of in-game advertising, but the Ikea Home and H&M Fashion Stuff DLC for The Sims 2 really feel like they're pushing it, even by EA's standards. As the IKEA and H&M branding would suggest, these are advertisements that you can pay to put into your game. For the low cost of roughly £10 per DLC, you too can be the proud digital owner of branded clothes and furniture from multi-million-dollar companies. Oh yes. No, but seriously, why wasn't this content released for free? Assumedly, EA got paid to advertise these other companies at players anyway, so it's a bit odd they chose to charge them for the pleasure. Thankfully, the reaction to these DLCs were unfavourable, to say the least. EA were dragged by several different outlets and reviewers, including one now infamous review from PC Zone, who gave the H&M pack a 5 out of 100. Supposedly, although unconfirmed, EA was so furious with the review that they contacted PC Zone directly about this. So this resulted in PC Zone publishing a follow-up to the IKEA Home DLC, where Stephen Hoggerty simply listed IKEA furniture items ad nauseum in his 25 out of 100 rating review. You love to see it. Number 4, Mercedes-Benz Mario Kart 8 and Super Mario Maker. Mercedes-Benz make cars, and Mario Kart 8 is a racing game. As far as promotional team-ups go, this one isn't that weird. You could maybe argue that it is a little bit odd that Nintendo agreed to any form of sponsorship deal at all, considering they aren't really known for collaborations at all, especially not like this. However, where we can all agree is that the Super Mario Maker promotion was definitely out of left field. Putting a car into the car game is passable, but the suits at Nintendo knew they were pushing it when they shoehorned the Mercedes-Benz GLA into the mushroom stomping simulator. On the plus side, we did get this advert out of it featuring a oddly chiseled live-action Mario. Considering how forced the Super Mario Maker collab feels, it does make you wonder what other alternative games Nintendo might have considered smushing the Mercedes-Benz GLA into. Maybe a replacement skin for Epona in Twilight Princess HD? Or perhaps even a new form for Kirby to unlock in Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Someone surely asked Sakurai if they could put the Mercedes-Benz GLA as a fighter into Smash Brothers, right? Because, I mean, duh, it's so obvious. Number 3, Powerade, Enter the Matrix. For the release of The Matrix Reloaded, Warner Brothers and Coca-Cola teamed up to slap the Powerade brand across everything and anything Matrix-related. Full-page cross-promotional ads in magazines, an advertisement before showings of the films where an agent tells everyone to get hydrated. There was even a special limited edition Matrix-coloured Powerade bottle. Enter the Matrix, the video game tie-in that launched alongside The Matrix Reloaded, wasn't immune from this Powerade-fueled cross-promotional nightmare either. Powerade vending machines can be found in a few locations in Enter the Matrix, sporting the same green and black Matrix-style branding as the special limited edition Powerade bottles, and will restore your health if you interact with them. In any other game, this kind of marketing ploy would be passable at best, but The Matrix is supposed to be a critique of capitalism, and a not-so-subtle one at that. We all know that executive meddling exists and that films often have to subsidize production costs through marketing deals, but in The Matrix's case, you'd think they'd try to be clever with it at the very least. Give the audience a little wink and nudge while you force-feed them Coca-Cola branded electrolytes, come on. Number 2, Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, Life is Strange. In the original Life is Strange, there's a sort of tongue-in-cheek moment where Max makes a throwaway comment about wanting to watch Final Fantasy The Spirits Within within on a flat-screen TV that you can interact with. All in all, it's pretty harmless stuff. Square Enix produced Life is Strange, and of course they published the Final Fantasy games, so this is just a cute little reference on behalf of the publisher, right? Actually, it turns out that Square Enix had not much to do with it at all, as the reference directly came from Life is Strange's writer, Christian Devine. When asked about the reference on the Kinda Funny Games podcast, co-director Michael Koch said that the writer considers the movie to be one of the best sci-fis ever made, and that its connection with Square Enix was just a happy accident. Now look, I'm more likely to defend this film than some people, but even I will draw the line. This is a pretty questionable opinion, and apparently Square Enix agreed, because according to Michael Koch, even the company was confused about the reference as they were worried that players might assume the writers were forced into putting something like this into the game, assumedly because of the Spirits Within's terrible critical reception. And also, it was 15 years old at this point. And number 1, PlayStation. FIFA. As I said previously, sports and advertising just go together, so much like you'd see in a real football match, FIFA titles feature a bunch of advertisements in the form of pitch-side ads. Again, this isn't that weird, and you can actually defend the inclusion of these because it makes a more authentic experience all around. McDonald's trying to advertise you their new $6.99 Double McChicken Tower Burger in FIFA 24, it's like you're really there at Old Trafford. The embarrassing in the title of this video has a slight different twist this time because it depends on which platform you play FIFA on, and it depends who you're embarrassing. Since 1997, PlayStation have been one of the UEFA Champions League's many sponsors, and as a result, the PlayStation logo is often slapped across the side of the pitch when a Champions League match is broadcast on TV. The slightly embarrassing side effect of this sponsorship deal is that the advertisements in FIFA games mirror the ones found in real matches, which means that PlayStation advertisements can be found in countless FIFA games on both Xbox and Nintendo platforms. The Sony ads are so prevalent that Nintendo once basically ran a 30-minute advert for the PS4 Pro at Gamescom when EA showed off FIFA 19 on the Nintendo Switch. Oops, sorry.